Day 284, Maccabean Revolt, 1 Maccabees 3, Sirach 7-9, Proverbs 22 verses 5-8. Let's begin. 1 Maccabees 3. And his son Judas, who was called Maccabeus, rose up in his place. And all his brothers assisted him, along with all those who had joined themselves to his father. And they fought the battle of Israel with rejoicing. And he expanded the glory of his people, and he clothed himself with a breastplate like a giant, and he surrounded himself his weapons of war in battles, and he protected the camp with his sword. In his actions, he became like a lion, and like a young lion roaring in the hunt. And he pursued the wicked and tracked them down. And those who disturbed his people, he burned with fire. And his enemies were repelled by the fear of him, and all the workers of iniquity were troubled. And salvation was well directed in his hand. And he provoked many kings, and he gave joy to Jacob by his works, and his memory will be a blessing for all generations. And he traveled through the cities of Judah, and he destroyed the impious out of them, and he turned wrath away from Israel. And he was renowned, even to the utmost part of the earth, and he gathered together those who were perishing. And so Apollonius gathered together the Gentiles, with a numerous and great army from Samaria, to make war against Israel. And Judas knew about it, and he went forth to meet him. And he struck him and killed him. And many fell down wounded, and the rest fled away. And he took away their spoils. And Judas took possession of the sword of Apollonius, and he fought with it during all his days. And Sarin, the leader of the army of Syria, heard that Judas had gathered together a company of the faithful and an assembly with him. And he said, I will make a name for myself, and I will be glorified in the kingdom, and I will defeat Judas in warfare, and those who are with him, who have spurned the word of the king. And he prepared himself. And the camp of the impious went up with him, with strong auxiliaries, so as to act with vengeance upon the sons of Israel. And they approached even as far as Betharon. And Judas went forth to meet him, with a few men. But when they saw the army coming to meet them, they said to Judas, How will we few be able to fight against so great and so strong a multitude, even though we are weakened by fasting today? And Judas said, It is easy for many to be enclosed in the hands of a few, for there is no difference in the sight of the God of heaven to liberate by means of many, or by means of few. For victory in warfare is not in the multitude of the army, but in the strength from heaven. They come to us with a contemptuous multitude and with arrogance, in order to destroy us, with our wives and our sons, and to despoil us. In truth, we will fight on behalf of our souls and our laws. And the Lord himself will crush them before our face. But as for you, do not fear them. And as soon as he had ceased speaking, he attacked them suddenly. And Sarin and his army were crushed in his sight. And he pursued him from the descent of Betharon, even to the plains. And 800 of their men were cut down, but the rest fled into the land of the Philistines. And the fear and dread of Judas, as well as his brothers, fell upon all the nations around them. And his name reached even to the king, and all the nations told stories of the battles of Judas. But when King Antiochus heard these accounts, he was angry to his very soul. And he sent and gathered together forces from his entire kingdom, a very strong army. And he opened his treasury, and he gave out stipends to the army for a year. And he commanded them to make ready for all things. And he saw that the money from his treasures had failed, and that the tributes of the country were small, because of the dissension and the scourging that he had caused on earth in order to take away the legitimate laws, which had been since the first days. And he feared, lest he not have enough the second time as the first, for expenses and gifts, which he had given before with a liberal hand. For his excesses were more than the kings who had been before him. And he was alarmed to his very soul, and he intended to go into Persia, and to take tributes from the regions, and to gather together much money. And he left behind Lysias, a nobleman of royal family, to preside over the kingdom from the river Euphrates, even to the river of Egypt, and to raise his son Antiochus, until he would return. And he handed over to him half of the army, and the elephants. And he commanded him concerning all that he wanted, and concerning the inhabitants of Judea and Jerusalem, so that he would send an army against them to crush and to root out the virtue of Israel and the remnant of Jerusalem, and to take away the memory of them from that place. And so that he would establish dwelling places for the sons of foreigners in all their parts, and would distribute their land by lot. And so, the king took the remaining part of the army, and he went forth from Antioch, the city of his kingdom, in the 147th year. And he crossed over the river Euphrates, and he traveled through the upper regions. Then Lysias chose Ptolemy, the son of Dorymenes, and Nicanor and Gorgias, powerful men from among the king's friends. And he sent them with 40,000 men, and 7,000 horsemen, to enter into the land of Judah, and to destroy it, according to the word of the king. And so, they proceeded with all their power, and they arrived and took a position near Emmaus, in the land of the plains. And the merchants of the regions heard of their name. And they took very much silver, and gold, and servants, and they came into the camp to take the sons of Israel into servitude. And armies from Syria and from the lands of foreigners were added to them. And Judas and his brothers saw that evils were being multiplied, and that armies had been positioned near their borders. And they knew the words of the king, which ordered the people to be put to death, and to be utterly consumed. And they said, each one to his neighbor, let us relieve the dejection of our people, and let us fight on behalf of our people and our sacred places. And an assembly was gathered together, so that they would be prepared for battle, and so that they could pray and ask for mercy and compassion. Now Jerusalem was not inhabited, but was like a desert. There was no one who entered or exited from among her children. And the sanctuary was trampled upon, and the sons of foreigners were in the stronghold. This place was the habitation of the Gentiles. And delight was taken away from Jacob, and the music of flute and harp ceased in that place. And they gathered together and came to Mizpah, opposite Jerusalem. For a place of prayer was in Mizpah, in the former Israel. And they fasted on that day, and they clothed themselves with haircloth, and they placed ashes on their heads, and they tore their garments. And they laid open the books of the law, in which the Gentiles searched for the likeness of their idols. And they brought the priestly ornaments, and the firstfruits and tithes, and they roused the Nazarites, who had fulfilled their days. And they cried out with a loud voice toward heaven, saying, What shall we do with these, and where shall we take them? For your holy things have been trampled and defiled, and your priests have been in mourning and in humiliation. And behold, the nations gather together against us, to destroy us. You know what they intend against us. How shall we be able to stand before their face, unless you, O God, assist us? Then they sounded the trumpets with a loud call. And after this, Judas appointed commanders over the people, over thousands, and over hundreds, and over 50s, and over 10s. And he said to those who were building houses, or who had betrothed wives, who were planting vineyards, or who were terribly afraid, that they should return, each one to his own house, according to the law. So they moved the camp, and relocated to the south of Emmaus. And Judas said, Gird yourselves, and be sons of power, and be ready in the morning, so that you may fight against these nations that have assembled against us, so as to destroy us and our sacred things. For it is better for us to die in battle, than to see evils come to our nation and to the sacred places. Nevertheless, as it shall be willed in heaven, so let it be. Sirach 7-9. Do not choose to do evil, and evil will not take hold of you. Withdraw from the iniquitous, and evil will withdraw from you. Son, do not sow evil in the furrows of injustice, and you will not reap them sevenfold. Do not seek a role of leadership from the Lord, and do not seek a seat of honor from the king. You should not justify yourself before God, for he is the knower of hearts. And by no means should you wish to seem wise before the king. Do not seek to become a judge, unless you have sufficient strength to shatter iniquities. Otherwise, you might fear the face of the powerful, and so establish a scandal within your integrity. You should not sin against the multitude of a city, nor should you cast yourself against the people. And you should not bind two sins together. For even in one sin, you will not go unpunished. Do not be cowardly in your soul. You should not be unwilling to beg, nor to give alms. You should not say, God will look with favor on the multitude of my gifts, and when I make an offering to the Most High God, He will accept my gift. You should not ridicule a man in bitterness of soul. For there is one who humbles and who exalts, the all-seeing God. Do not love a lie against your brother, nor should you act the same toward your friend. Do not be willing to devise a lie of any kind, for the practice of lying is not good. Do not choose to be verbose among a multitude of elders, and you should not repeat the words of your prayers. You should not hate laborious works, nor the rustic life created by the Most High. You should not consider yourself to be among the multitude of the undisciplined. Remember wrath, for it will not be delayed. Humble your spirit greatly, for the retribution against the flesh of the impious is with fire and worms. Do not betray your friend for the sake of money, and you should not spurn your dearest brother for the sake of gold. Do not choose to depart from a good and understanding wife, whom you have been allotted in the fear of the Lord. For the grace of her modesty is above gold. You should not harm the servant whose works are honest, nor the hired hand who entrusts his life to you. Let an understanding servant be loved by you like your own soul. You should not cheat him out of freedom, nor abandon him to destitution. Are cattle yours? Tend to them. And if they are useful, let them remain with you. Are sons yours? Instruct them, and bow them down from their childhood. Are daughters yours? Watch over their bodies. And you should not display a light-hearted attitude toward them. Give your daughter in marriage, and give her to an understanding man, and you will be doing a great work. If a wife in accord with your soul is yours, you should not reject her. But do not entrust yourself to her who is hateful. With your whole heart, honor your father. And you should not forget the complaints of your mother. Remember that you would not have been born except through them. And so, give back to them as they also have done for you. With all your soul, fear the Lord, and consider His priests to be holy. With all your strength, love Him who made you, and you should not abandon His ministers. Honor God from your whole soul, and confer honor on the priests, and continue to purify yourself with your strength. Give them their portion, just as it has been commanded of you, from the firstfruits and from the purifications. And for your ignorant offenses, purify yourself with a smaller offering. You should offer to the Lord the gift of your strength, and the sacrifice of sanctification, and the firstfruits of what is holy. And reach out your hand to the poor, so that your atonement and your blessing may be perfected. A gift has grace in the sight of all the living, but you should not prohibit grace for the dead. You should not fail to console those who are weeping, nor to walk with those who are mourning. Do not let yourself be slow to visit the sick, for in this way you will be confirmed in love. In all your works, remember your very end, and so you will not sin unto eternity. You should not quarrel with a powerful man, lest perhaps you may fall into his hands. You should not contend with a wealthy man, lest perhaps he may bring an action against you. For gold and silver have destroyed many, and have reached and corrupted even the hearts of kings. You should not quarrel with a man who is full of words, for you should not cast wood upon his fire. You should not confide in an ignorant man, lest he speak evil about your family. You should not despise a man who turns himself away from sin, nor reproach him with it. Remember that we are all subject to correction. You should not spurn a man in his old age, for we are all subject to growing old. Do not be willing to rejoice at the death of your enemy, knowing that we all die, and that we do not want others to rejoice over us. You should not despise the discourse of those who are old and wise, instead, ponder their proverbs. For from them you will learn wisdom and intelligent doctrine, so as to serve great men without blame. Do not allow the discourse of your elders to pass you by, for they have learned from their fathers. And from them you will learn understanding, and you will learn what response to give in a time of necessity. You should not kindle the coals of sinners by arguing with them, for you might be scorched by the flame from the fire of their sins. You should not stand against the face of a contemptuous person, otherwise he may sit down as if waiting in ambush against your words. You should not lend to a man who is stronger than you. But if you do lend, consider it lost. You should not promise beyond your ability. But if you do promise, consider how to fulfill it. You should not judge against a judge, for he judges according to what is just. You should not go forth on the way with an audacious man, lest perhaps he may burden you with his evils. For he goes forth according to his own will, and you will perish with him in his folly. You should not start a conflict with an angry man, and you should not go into the desert with an audacious man. For shedding blood is nothing to him, and in a place where there is no help for you, he will overthrow you. You should not hold counsel with the foolish, for they are not able to love anything except what pleases them. You should not take counsel in the sight of an outsider, for you do not know what he will do next. You should not reveal your heart to every man, lest perhaps he may offer a false kindness to you, and then speak reproachfully about you. You should not be jealous of the wife of your bosom, lest she reveal, because of you, the malice of a wicked lesson. You should not give authority over your soul to a woman, lest she obtain your strength, and then you would be confounded. You should not look with favor on a woman with many desires, lest perhaps you may fall into her traps. You should not be continually in need of entertainment, nor should you be persuaded by it, lest perhaps you may perish by its effectiveness. You should not stare at a virgin, lest perhaps you may be scandalized by her beauty. You should not give your soul, in any way, to fornicators, lest you destroy yourself and your inheritance. Do not choose to look around in the streets of the city, nor should you wander along its thoroughfares. Avert your face from an ornate woman, for you should not gaze upon strange beauty. Many have perished because of the beauty of a woman, and by this, desire is kindled like a fire. Every woman who is a fornicator will be trampled down, like the filth in the street. Many, by admiring the beauty of the wife of another, have become reprobate. For familiarity with her flares up like a fire. You should not sit down at all with another man's wife, nor recline with her on a couch. And you should not argue with her over wine, lest perhaps your heart may turn toward her, and by your emotion, you would be toppled into perdition. You should not abandon an old friend, for a new one will not be similar to him. A new friend is like new wine. It will grow old, and then you will enjoy drinking it. You should not envy the glory and wealth of a sinner, for you do not know what may be his undoing in the future. The injury of the unjust should not please you, knowing that, until they are in hell, the impious will not please. Keep yourself far from a man having the power to kill, and then you will not have the fear of death suspended over you. But if you do approach him, do nothing to offend, lest perhaps he may take away your life. Know that this is a communion with death, for you would be entering the midst of snares, and walking upon the arms of the grieving. According to your ability, be cautious of your neighbor, and treat him as the wise and prudent would. Let just men be your companions, and let your glory be in the fear of God. And let the thought of God be in your mind, and let all your discourse be on the precepts of the Most High. Works will be praised for the hands of the artists, and a leader of the people will be praised for the wisdom of his words, yet truly, the word of the elders will be praised for its understanding. A man full of words is a dread to his city, but one who speaks rashly will be hated for his word. Proverbs 22 verses 5 through 8. Weapons and swords are on the way of the perverse, but he who guards his own soul withdraws far from them. The proverb is, a youth is close to his way, even when he is old, he will not withdraw from it. The rich rule over the poor, and the borrower is servant to the lender. Whoever sows iniquity will reap evils, and by the rod of his own wrath he will be consumed.